Courier-Record Facebook Nation. This is Billy Colburn. We are here today with Monica Hazelwood-Frisby, candidate for the Nottoway County Board of Supervisors in Election District 5. This is interview number 5. We've got several other interviews lined up. This airtime is paid for. However, neither the candidate nor I have had any discussions about questions or even general topics. And so with that, we want to welcome to the Courier-Record Studios, Ms. Monica Hazelwood-Frisby. Monica, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good to see you again. Quick question comes to mind. I asked one candidate last week that people may, it was something but I said, some people thought you'd be running for supervisor, not school board. I heard your name mentioned as possible school board. Why supervisor? Why is Monica running for the Nottoway Board of Supervisors?
Well, I've inquired and asked about both school board and board of supervisors.
Right.
I've always said that if the board of supervisors was available, somebody I didn't have to challenge them for the seat, that I feel like that's where I could make the most difference. Yes, I've worked in the school systems. I've worked for Kinston, I've worked for Nottoway, and I do have a background as far as education.
Right.
But I feel like I would carry the most weight on the board of supervisors.
And that might be one of the answers. Is that because of the funding, the fact that the supervisors provide the funding, or?
So no, not that. I just feel like right now where we are with our board of supervisors, my leadership skills and my experience would help. I feel like, there needs to be more unity. We need to be able to communicate better. There needs to be respect on both sides of the aisle as far as our board of supervisors and our community. And we need an action plan.
All right.
So with those things said, I feel like I am able to help them achieve those goals.
Very good. You touched on something that was one of my questions later, but we'll get to it now. You're a pretty astute observer. I know you're on the town board of zoning appeals, I believe.
Correct.
Social services board.
Yes.
What do you think has happened or has been happening in Nottoway County seems like the last 3 or 4 years has been a new level of unpleasantness, discord, and not on any one person or any board. It just seems to be out there. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think with respect. We have to respect one another. And it does not matter who the person is. It does not matter what they say, because we're not always going to be kind. But even if someone's not kind, that does not mean that we repay them with disrespect. And so we have to learn and get to a level that we respect one another. And that's not what I've seen. I had the opportunity to be all the way in Maryland this past summer.
Okay.
Had gone up for a volunteer event, because I volunteer on the state level for ESGR, Employer Supported Garden Reserve.
Okay.
And so after that, I went with my husband to a cookout. And there was an older lady that was from the area, and I want to say she was 70, 80 years old, and she made mention to the unpleasantries of what's going on.
In Nottoway.
Exactly.
In Nottoway
what's
County.
happening
Wow.
at the meetings, and and I was like, wow. At that time, I had not decided which one I was going to run for, whether it was the board of supervisors or the school board, because I've toyed with both.
Okay.
At that point, I felt like, what? I need to be somewhere where I can make a difference, where I can help, because we have to. We're all in this together.
Right.
We're all in Nottoway County. So whether we live in Blackstone, Crew, or Burkeville, we have to learn to get together, to come together, to communicate, to help one another, because that's what it's all about.
All right. We have 2 active political parties in Nottoway County. What do you see the role, if any, of party politics in local government? It seems to have been the profile of the party seems to have elevated in recent years.
I just think regardless, Democrat or Republican, that shouldn't make a difference in who you are and what you stand for. If you're standing for the right thing, either side of the aisle that you're on, you're going to do your best to make sure that you're doing the best for our community.
And you are running as an independent?
I am running as an independent.
Very good, very good. It's just some hot button issues that have made some news in Nottoway County, and some of them, solar energy. Have you looked into that at all? There's one group of folks that say, if they own land and they should be able to make money off solar investment. Then there's some environmental concerns. And any thoughts on solar in general? I know that I
have thought about it. I've done some reading on it. And I think we have to get to a point where we have the open forums. We bring in the companies if they're trying to come, hear what they have to say, hear what our community have to say, and go from there. We cannot, and that's what the Board of Supervisors, we're elected to represent our community.
Right.
And so as we represent our community, we have to be a voice for those individuals that we represent. It's not our own personal opinion.
Okay.
And so I think we have to lean more on our community and hear what they're saying, what their desires are, the reason why. We can't say no because our answer is no. We have to say no because we've been educated and we know that this is not the best for our community, or it is the best for our community. So with that, I think there again, communication,
Right.
Education, learning what is going to be the best for us in that situation when it comes to solar.
Very good. Nottoway County has been both praised and criticized for having a lot of cash and putting off repairs. And one of the big ticket items that's been discussed is a new animal control shelter. And the first bid that came in was $4.9 million. Where do you stand on a need for a shelter? And are you in the camp that thinks, hey, that's just the way it is, the cost of business, or you think maybe we need to there's some that say the shelter might need to be downsized or maybe not as elaborate as the plans? Any thoughts on that generally?
I just don't see us spending that $4 million.
Right.
I do feel like there is a need, but I think we have to work towards coming up with a better plan and figuring out what is in that budget. And I know it was only one bid that came in at that
That's
amount. So it's out for rebid again now.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see what happens and go from there, making some educated decisions. I love animals. Have a dog of my own. But we can't care for animals more than we care for our citizens.
I've heard that in the community quite a bit here. I don't know how familiar you are. There's a big tug of war right now between Nottoway and Prince Edward on water. Prince Edward County, it was learned yesterday, has somehow gotten an amendment in to run a water line into Nottoway County and possibly serve facilities served by crew. As a Nottoway supervisor, generally, what are your thoughts on? I know the county, no matter what county it is, run the utilities in, and any thoughts on that?
I don't agree with that. I think we need to service our own. And so if that's Blackstone being able to help crew or however we need to do it, we need to stay within our county.
Very good, very good. As a supervisor, if you're elected, one of the biggest things you'll have to deal with is a budget. And I know you've got some work experience in that. There was talk, it kind of came in at the last minute, it didn't really get a lot of discussion, but the school board had asked for, I think, a $12 million gym at the high school. What would Supervisor Hazelwood-Frisby, what are your thoughts on that right now? Well,
just to have a thought, I don't have one. Because we'd have to look at everything in perspective to, if we have that money for the gym or how we can help, and it depends on what our budget is and what we have on the table. And so when I said an action plan, going back to our comprehensive plan, okay, it was 2010 and they updated it in 2023. That alone, we have to take items out of that and become action items. A plan is great, but if we don't govern ourselves by that plan, if we don't move forward with those items that are needed for our community, a gym for the school, I think is wonderful if that's something we can afford.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you is basically, the five of you, if you're elected, come up with, what are the top needs and okay, what can we afford to do now? Not go down the list. Try to and stick to that list.
And sometimes things are going to change. We know that.
Curveballs get thrown.
Things have been very fluid up at our Board of Supervisors, our administration office, lately. So we know things change. And so with that, we have to communicate and work together and do the best for our community with the change, but not just jump out there and do things and then figure it out later.
Very good.
We can't just spend that type of money if we don't know where it's coming from or if it's the best decision for our community.
Right. With the departure of, it is an open seat. Lynn Shackleton is not going to run again. If you had all the residents of District 5, the voters, you had a megaphone, and they're like, why should we elect you, Monica? What would some of your answers be? Why you?
I have experience in a variety of areas. And it's funny because as I've been preparing myself for this Board of Supervisor run,
right.
I'm big on education. I love education. So I have been reading, I have been digging. And so I've always, in some form or fashion, done public administration. Whether it's through my volunteer work, if it's been through the jobs I've had, I've always done some type of work. And so I feel like I'm educated. As far as a leader, I have proven myself when it comes to budget. When we had the Afghanistan project here, I led that project in their human resource office, and our payroll was at least $2.5 million every 2 weeks.
And just to remind viewers, you are currently employed where?
With Brunswick County.
Okay, but so you have worked at Fort Pickett?
I have.
Okay.
Also,
tell the viewers some of your work experience.
Okay,
I first got to know you when you were director of Kinston Forest Early Learning Program, probably 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
Some of the other jobs you had.
So Kinston Forest is their early learning director. I've also worked with Fort Pickett for the National Guard / ESGR, Employer Supported Guard and Reserve.
Okay.
And so with that, I worked for the state of Virginia, and I had the whole state as my territory. So I traveled the state of Virginia educating military service members on their rights and responsibilities under the law USERRA, Uniform Service Employment Reemployment Right Act, which allows them to be able to be a military service member in the National Guard or Reserve component, but also have a civilian employer.
Okay.
And so with that, I did that for 15 years. In the last 5 years, I was the lead for the South region. And so I had 12 states under me, in which I managed, governed their reports, their day-to-day activities of what they did in those 12 other states, in addition to what I was doing here in the state of Virginia.
Wow.
To make the
I did not even know that. And of course, locally, you're on the Town Board of Zoning Appeals. You're on the Nottoway County Social Services Board.
Yes.
And currently, you're employed by Brunswick County. What do you do in Brunswick County? I did not know.
So in Brunswick, in Brunswick County, I work in the office with their county administrator. So I work with the economic development team.
Okay,
there.
Interesting.
So so I mean,
you could be working for 2 counties.
yeah. I mean, and it's amazing what we need to do, what we need to come together. And so, being in the neighboring county working, I chose not to drive back and forth to Richmond. And so that's how I find myself in Brunswick, because I want to stay as close to home as possible, and be able to still make a decent income, and be able to provide for my family. So with that, I mean, volunteering is just what I do. And I feel like the Board of Supervisors is an extension of me volunteering.
Because the salary is $5,000 a year, and I can tell you, whatever anyone thinks about a supervisors, they've more than earned that pay in the last few years. Well, you've been here a long time. What are just some of the things you see, the great things about Nottoway County, the good things about our community that you think maybe get overlooked, or just,
I think as citizens, we love one another. We care about one another. We care about our community. I just feel like people really feel like they don't have a voice. And so with that, I want to be the person that people stop me in the community and tell me what their thoughts are, tell me what their issues are, and they actually have a voice. Because I've run into several people and I said, well, what district do you live in? Do you vote? And they go, no, I don't vote. And I said, well, why? Yeah. And have those conversations. The one hot item that have been brought up to me over and over again is broadband.
Broadband, that's true.
And COVID 2020 allowed us to know it's not a need, it's a necessity.
No doubt, no doubt. In fact, the county has a grant through, but it's only like, I think 900 households, and then I've heard there's a problem with maybe that I heard something last week that, not officially confirmed, there's some problems with that program potentially. So, yeah, that's another thing. What is it? Is there anything you hear, and you hear all kinds of things when you run for office, have you heard anything about your campaign or a misperception out there that you'd like to just, anything to make you chuckle and just say that's so crazy, or you'd like to correct, or?
I'm not hearing anything.
Okay.
And that's the funny part. I had one of my neighbors say, this campaign's been so quiet. And I said, okay.
It's September, people are starting to pay attention now.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, I just want people to know I love my community. What I'm doing is an extension of my volunteer work. I didn't realize I had done so much volunteering in my life until I started
writing it
down. And I'm like, oh, okay, and I did this and I did that, But at the end of the day, service to others, that's what I'm big on. Yeah. So any way that I can help, any way that I can help make a difference in our community, that's what I'm here to do.
That's great.
It's nothing more and nothing less. I feel like I'm easy to talk to, and I feel like anyone can have a conversation with me. It doesn't have to be someone that's at the top of the ladder or someone that's at the bottom, but I think everyone across the board, because I'm that person, I've never met a stranger. So I'm going to speak and
you're
talk
not going to mind when they flag you down at Walmart. You're not going to run hide. And just to tell the voters, because it's been redistricting, District 5 is, a lot of us call it the Blackstone seat, but it's like half your district, I believe, is in town.
Right.
And there's another half that's out of town. What part, I should know this, but the part out of town generally is located where?
So it's 46. So
about 46 to
Brunswick Road, and then Cambridge all the way out.
Okay.
That way. Church Street, it comes as far as Church Street.
Okay.
And I want to say over to Amelia.
Okay.
So, and then all of, well, I won't say all, but it goes back down Hungrytown Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably half and half between town and, Blackstone, town of Blackstone residents in the south side of the county. Okay. Sound like you're out and about, and are you knocking on, what's been your strategy? It used to be 20 years ago, people started wanting to knock on doors. Now everyone's become so, I don't know, hermits from COVID. Are you going door to door? What has been your strategy?
I have been.
Okay.
And I do plan to go back out to get to individual doors, and that's time consuming, but I love it because, people invite you into their home.
Right.
Or you get to sit on their front porch, and you can't be in a rush.
No.
You just have to.
You want to make time, and there's some places you go, you hunker down, like, okay, I'm here.
No, but you want to hear their concerns.
Sure.
You want to hear their concerns. Like I said, you want to be a voice for the community. And if you're not talking to individuals, if you're not connected with them, then you don't know their concerns. You don't know what it is that they would like to happen after this election year. And we cannot govern just on our own.
No, you're right. Representative democracy. Anything besides broadband that you hear from people, is the attitude of people been mainly positive? Are they concerned about some of the unpleasantries in the county? Or are people more optimistic than maybe we give them credit for?
I think they are more optimistic. Okay. And, I believe the individuals that they vote for, they believe in them. So they believe that the right things will be done. And so I think with that, I'm in good standing. I have shown myself friendly within the community. I've shown myself helpful in the community. And I'm always willing to help. So whether I get this seat for the Board of Supervisors or not, I'll still be in the community volunteering, doing all the things that I can do to make a difference in our community.
Folks, y'all have heard from Monica Hazelwood-Frisby. Again, today is Thursday, September the 7th. 2 weeks from tomorrow, when most of you will be seeing this video, early voting begins, Friday, September 22nd. The election is November 7th. If you don't know where to vote, you have plenty of time to figure it out. Email the Registrar Ronnie Reynolds at vote@nottoway.org. And as we said earlier, this time has been paid for by the candidate, but there were no agreements, no editing of the video, but no agreements on questions or topics. And Monica, thank you so much for your time. We're going to sign off right now.